What's up, everybody? Welcome to Logical, Plausible, Probable. Oh man, so just got done watching that interesting back and forth over on SFT between Ron Garret and Paul, and the same talking points came out of Dr. Ron Garrett's mouth again for about the fourth debate, and just continue to amaze me that somebody of his supposed credentials would continue to use uh, these talking points. It just blows my mind. But I think he really continues to embody what the average atheist activist has turned into. The evolutionary proponents just don't seem to use their brains. I don't actually question whether or not Dr. Garrett has high intelligence. I just don't think he's using it anymore. I think that it's rather obvious through his success over at Google, and then as an investor in Silicon Valley, that he now thinks that he is superior to the average person, and that he can just buy into the standard talking points that are spewed and not actually do real analysis on his own. Now, one of the things that he's continued to spew at me is that I don't share my sources. I owe him sources, et cetera, et cetera. And this is in spite of the fact through multiple debates in response to him and such. I actually well before my debate with him when this started, I've had a public folder available to anyone that houses different papers that I use, different things I've come across that I find interesting, and just dive into different aspects of biology, evolution, information theory, and just different components, abiogenesis research, different things of that nature, and have it available for everybody. However, it seems that the Ron Garretts, the RJ Downards, so on and so forth, lack the capacity to go to this Google folder, which has public access for everybody, and actually read for themselves. Supposedly, I'm supposed to send them links to everything when there's a single link which can literally take you to have access to all of them, rather than me just sending you one or two. Now, for the people of this ilk who seem incapable of doing this, I'm going to really break it down for them today, and I just want to make it very, very clear of where and how they can go and learn for themselves. So, should now be sharing a screen here, and you should see the about of my channel. And if you look right here where my mouse is, it says for the annoying people. That's one place you can click it. Or you can scroll down and there's links for the annoying people. You just click it. It will take you to a Google Drive folder, and you can see a literal plethora of additional folders and then a whole bunch of other papers on a variety of topics for you to go ahead and read for yourself. So, for anyone who does not think that I make my sources available, here it is for you. The next person who claims that I do not make this available, I'm going to send you a link to this video. And then I'm also going to insult your intelligence and your ability to click links. Like, this is not that complicated, folks. I mean, information encoding. Here's a bunch of papers on all that stuff. I mean, just come read through all of them yourself. And as a sidebar, for anybody who's paying attention, the whole wobble effect that supposedly is in favor of evolution, yeah, they're actually finding out that's not really in your favor, but, it's all good. Maybe go read a couple papers and then get back to me on that one. But anyway, circling back around to Dr. Ron Garret and today's debate, I'm just going to issue a formal challenge to him, because both in my debate with him and today, he made the strong assertion that the formation of information processing mechanical function is somehow plausible to occur without an intelligent agent. And he says, I would need an entire debate to be able to explain this. So I'm just going to make it really easy for you, Dr. Garrett. In debate with me, um, I posed the point of, do you actually think it's plausible that a piece of iron could somehow magically turn into a sword without an intelligent agent being required? You claimed that yes, this was something that was possible and that you could come up with a formula, method, explanation for how a piece of iron could turn itself into a sword. Today, you went a step further and argued that a robotic mechanism which has the purpose of trying different combinations to a safe could somehow come into existence and would not require the intelligent agent in order for it to do so. So, Dr. Garrett, as somebody who worked in artificial intelligence, computer science, has a PhD in computer science, worked for NASA, helped develop and was one of the lead architects of Google AdWords, I would really like you to create a video, write a paper, do whatever you want to explain to me with a straight face how it is a remotely plausible conclusion that the robotic mechanisms, the programming, and the other functional requirements for a robot to come into existence and be able to do, I think the word you used were auto dialer, for figuring out the safe combination. Please explain this to the rest of us. Please, sir, use your PhD to explain how, with no intelligent agency at all, period, no agencies allowed at all, none, somehow this robot was formed mechanically, it was programmed to process have the instructions and able to process the information required to both try new potential combinations and then ultimately to determine which one is the correct one. I really want to see how this is remotely plausible. And then, if you manage to figure this one out, please go back to the easy one and show me how the piece of iron with no intelligent agency that is lying out in the middle of nowhere turns itself into a sword with a handle. The steel is, the metal is sharpened. It is angled. It is literally turned into a sword from a raw piece of iron. I really want to know how this is possible, because apparently I do not have the IQ, nor the education, nor the understanding of information theory of how it is a remotely plausible condition that could be met without an intelligent agent being required. And then let's go one step further in terms of regarding this debate, since I'm on a little bit of a diatribe here. Dr. Garrett, you continue to reference in multiple debates Richard Dawkins, Selfish Gene, his academic paper in more detail and such. That's old news, sir. This genes just replicate themselves is so old hat. I mean, you're honestly starting to show your age, sir. And I've tried in previous interactions with you to be respectful. You, however, have insulted myself. You have insulted other people in favor of intelligent agency. And you continue to act as if we are the ones that view the world through an implausible, improbable, and illogical lens. However, sir, I would argue that it is you who do not view the world rationally. Perhaps you have spent too much time living in a good life to really comprehend the utter insanity of the positions that you take when it comes to the requirements for life to exist. I'm going to assume that you have not actually read papers on where things are as of 2020 in terms of trying to explain the genetic code, for example, which ironically in our debate, you claimed is totally reasonable to come into existence without an intelligent agent. That syntax, semantics, pragmatics, all of these things can somehow form themselves in an arbitrary sense for a communication system to be translated without the prior requirement of an intelligent agent to determine the translation protocols. Sir, please explain to me how that is. You have the computer science PhD. Explain it to me. Explain how this is possible. You make these assertions that, oh, it's totally explainable. You just need more time. Well, sir, make the explanation. Because to my knowledge, other than pure hypotheticals, no one has actually come up with a valid theory of how these things are possible, both from an information theory perspective as well as a chemistry one. There's different hypotheses, none of which have been proven, and all of which so far have continued to be debunked as we learn more and more about the interconnectivity of the systems. You make these ongoing statements about how irreducible complexity can always be explained. Really, again, I returned back to, let's go back to irreducible complexity of a sword, starting with a piece of iron. Go. Please, Dr. Garret, please explain it to us and how it is remotely plausible that with no intelligent agency, that piece of iron turns into a sword. Please do. I ask you, sir. You make these ongoing assertions. I just don't understand how somebody with a PhD and the experience and the professional background as you can continue to make these assertions, because I literally dare you, sir, to go back to Google and tell the dev team that's currently working on whatever the latest iterations of AdWords are, or Smart View and other things of that nature. I literally dare you on video to go back to Google, walk into one of the dev floors, and be like, hey guys, you're no longer needed because whatever functions you're working on right now, new upgrades, it's going to come into existence by itself. You are no longer needed to create new source code. It's going to happen through backups. It's copying, it's replicating. Therefore, all the functions you're currently working on are just going to come into existence through copying error. Go do that on video. Go ask them with a straight face if they think that is remotely a logical, plausible, or probable explanation for how the next iteration is going to come into existence. I know you won't, because nobody with a modicum of IQ would ever make that conclusion about anything that requires source code. Nobody. The only way that new code creates itself through machine learning AI is what? Through pre-programmed capacity for a dynamic system. I mean, you worked on this sort of stuff at NASA. You know this. So, Dr. Garret, go back and talk to your peers that you worked with at NASA on these artificial intelligence projects and ask them if they actually think that the AI that you guys worked on to develop could have created itself. Do you have the CO Jones to go and do that? To go ask your peers on video if they think it's a remotely plausible conclusion that could happen? I'm going to bet you don't, because that would be stupid. And yet, you accuse people like your opponents today in the debate, and me and others, that we are somehow the ones that are operating from a completely illogical and implausible position. I don't know how you continue to look yourself in the mirror and act superior when your knowledge of biology is clearly lacking, when somehow your professional experience and knowledge and education does not apply to the very existence of life, even though all of the components that were required in your professional experience are also required in biological systems. And this is a known fact beyond doubt now. You claim that the same source requirements are not in play. I don't understand you. I really do not understand how someone such as yourself can actually take positions that are this far from a remotely rational state of mind. Now, that's enough of my my rant here towards Dr. Garret. I hope that he will go and look at some of those papers that I have in the folder. I hope that next time I question him. He won't say that I owe him sources because they have been widely available for quite some time. And I hope that, unlike the vast majority of the little atheist advocates that run around claiming that people such as myself, standing for truth, jungle jargon on Tangelo, and so on, that we are somehow not actually making rational arguments. We'll actually do a raw analysis of their own positions and come up with formal objections. Not, oh, the consensus is, or no, it's already established that. No, no, no. Go and research the data for yourselves. Go read the papers for yourselves, and then come back to me and say, no, here's how this is a remotely plausible explanation, not based on pure assumption. For example, I was watching a video earlier today from the National Genome Project talking about genetic sequencing analysis, for example. And I was looking at some of the matrix they've developed for determining evolutionary relationships and discovered that their standard algorithm literally only looks for 30 to 40% similarity in a sequence. Are you kidding me? So we can have very little modification in order for something to be functional. Yet they're going to claim that this sequence evolved from this sequence just because it has 30%, somewhere around 30, 40% similarity in sequence. In what universe would you make that same argument, Dr. Garrett, about a source code function that the source code was 30% similar to something else? Cool. It used a similar framework. Awesome. Sweet. That means absolutely nothing on whether or not it came from another system that used the same framework. Nobody would make that argument. But you do. You make that argument in relation to our existence. Every time. All of you. You continue to make this argument. I do not understand how in the modern era of technology in which we live, with frameworks and software and script libraries and APIs and everything else, how anyone with a modicum of computer science knowledge and programming experience can come to the conclusion that similarities somehow prove evolutionary relationships. It is just so out there. I do not know how you guys continue to make these assertions. But this is supposed to be a short rant. I'm going to wrap this up here quickly. But for everybody who is watching and watch this after I get done, on Monday evening, tentatively at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be having Dr. Fuzz Rana on the show live for 90 minutes, and he and I will be discussing abiogenesis chemistry, and we're going to dive into some of the deeper level questions, not just some of the surface level stuff, but really get into some of the things that really create a paradox, if you will, in abiogenesis chemistry. And one of the things that we're definitely going to touch on, and this we can thank Lord Voldemort, also known as Lord of Pudding, for this. He's made so many diatribes about microenvironments that Dr. Ron and I are going to discuss microenvironments. And yeah, so we'll see what comes of that after we delineate how the pH levels and a variety of other factors have to be categorically opposite for different fundamentals of the building blocks of life to exist, and how it requires enzymes for those things to be done in cellular systems in order to overcome those paradoxes, and how there's no way around this in terms of abiogenesis chemistry. Also, tomorrow morning, tentatively, I may be having a discussion with Dr. Rob Stadler, author of Stairway to Life. He's a very, very well-credentialed medical researcher. Actually, a lot of his stuff, his inventions are literally in millions of people around the world as we speak. And we're going to discuss some of the factors also of abiogenesis and just biology in general. He and I are finalizing the time right now to make sure it's convenient for him. So you don't want to miss that. So keep your eyes peeled for a announcement for that one. If that goes down, it will be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Well, everybody, thanks so much for. Oh man, speed of sound. Getting a little tangent in there. Okay. Anyway, everybody, as you are considering the factors, the arguments, the evidence, and all the different things that are put forth to you about how we exist and what is the cause of our ability to have these conversations and these diatribes, debates, and ongoing communications in different manners, make sure everything you're considering and the conclusions you reach are logical, plausible, and probable. Thanks so much, y'all. Have a good one.